Hey guys, Matt here in Siem Reap, waiting for a bus to take me back to Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Yesterday I went to Angkor Wat, among other temples. It was on my bucket list actually. I accomplished Cambodia's bucket list item yesterday. But this episode of the vlog is not going to be about that. It's kind of going to be about that, but it's going to be more about travel in general. And about a specific thing in travel, something that I've encountered a few times. I'm going to call it travel depression. And it's I think that it's something that all travelers deal with if they travel for a long period of time. Some people get it more, some people get it less, but I have gone through a number of bouts of travel depression. It hits you at strange times, and sometimes you can't quite figure out why. But let's just make this episode a little bit of a talk about what travel depression is, at least for me, and things that I do to get through it, and how it affects me. You can live quite an interesting life with regards to being a full-time or a most-time traveler. You see some of the most amazing things in the world, you meet some of the most interesting people in the world, and by all metrics you would think that you are a pretty satisfied and comfortable person and fulfilled from the standpoint of having an experiential life. So in a lot of ways you would think that depression or sadness or being down would be something that you'd never feel. But that's not true. Just like you can look at somebody who's wealthy and you'd think has a perfect life, they can be depressed and sad and frustrated and have ups and downs. You can have travelers that do the same. I was standing on Angkor Wat. I had just finished a live stream. I started recording the vlog for the temples surrounding Angkor Wat and the area, and I got a unmistakable feeling of, it's hard to say, sadness, frustration, just an all-around feeling of being down. It's like an infection almost. It is a lot like an infection. Somebody's having a bout of coughing. It is like a disease or an infection. It gets into you. It grabs. It takes hold. It changes your feeling, your demeanor. I had all these plans for filming here at Angkor Wat. I had all these ideas for actually exploring the city at night. And it turns out that I did a walk. I came back to this hostel. Which is a great hostel, by the way. I really like this place. It's called One Stop Hostel in Siem Reap. I didn't make a hostel territory about it. You'll just have to take my word for it. One note about this hostel. Last night at about 11:30, almost midnight, one girl on the bunk bed adjacent to me was violating like the number one rule of hostel bedrooms, bunk bedrooms. She was taking a phone call in like the dead of night and speaking totally loudly.
Ja, daar gooi ik ook een enorme stijging. DNV reageert zo op de eerste plaats, maar ja, sorry, ik ben er echt niet goed van.
I don't know what she was saying. I think it was Norwegian or something, but she just yapped on and on and on and on for about 30 minutes. You want to take a phone call in the bunk bedroom of a hostel? You go out of the bunk bedroom of the hostel. Acceptable noises in a bunk bedroom are when you're leaving, when you're arriving, and maybe shuffling around in your bag, because you can't prevent that. Anyways, it sure added to my feeling from yesterday, the dour mood I was in. So anyways, if you are a traveler like me and you've traveled long distance, please share your story of travel depression in the comment section below. I think it's important from the standpoint of sharing that we do share these stories, because one of the worst things about being sad is feeling like you're the only one that's sad and that everybody around you is happy all the time. That's just not always the case. And understanding that what you're going through is something that is not something that you have to go through alone is an important thing. And so if you guys out there, anybody, can share your stories and tell us, you know, how you might have gotten through it, or that you experience these things but you still press on, I think that's a valuable thing to talk about. You know, there's a syndrome, especially on YouTube, for people that do vlogging and these YouTube channels, to like rose-colored glasses everything. So it's like you don't end up talking about the down moments. You just show this guy living in this amazing life or doing these interesting things every day, video after video, and you think to yourself that that's the way this guy lives his life, and maybe that can make you a little frustrated or down, just knowing that there's these perfect people living these perfect lives. I've never been the one to say I live a perfect life, but you might feel that way if you don't share the down moments, because the down moments are important. The down moments do shape who you are, how you get through those down moments, especially if you press on or if you give up. That's the other thing. If I share a down moment, a lot of people come to me and they're like, looks like that's getting to the end of the road there, Matt. I don't think you can keep traveling. You know, I think that the traveling is wearing you out and that you're almost finished. When then the reality is, I have down moments when I'm, you know, in any circumstance of life. We have ups and downs. I feel like life has a flow to it, right? And you have flow highs and you have flow lows. Sometimes going through these bouts is healthy, because it helps you to reevaluate maybe what you might be doing wrong. But giving up travel altogether is a heavy-handed move and unnecessary. It's funny that I go through this moment and I'm at the bucket list place on my Cambodia country. I'm at the bucket list point of Cambodia. So I'm finishing this major thing, and I feel like I'll just tell you the truth. The feelings. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling procrastinatory. When I personally feel procrastinatory, I only get more procrastinatory. So like, I have videos backed up that I need to finish in order to keep my channel going and keep the pace. Could I have another coffee? One more? So like, for example, I started watching YouTube videos, just random YouTube videos. And that's like the crutch for me to like exit out of this world and enter into another one where I don't have to worry about my feelings at the moment. And I started watching a couple of videos, and then a couple more, and then a couple more, sort of like my drug. I'm very happy that I'm doing, you know, I'm watching YouTube videos instead of like shooting up with heroin or getting completely drunk at a bar or anything like that. I do things that are counterproductive to me as a YouTuber, which is just like not working on my videos. You know, I'm sitting here with my laptop here, and I have videos I need to make. I'm working on a video like a number of days ago at Kanto, which is the night market. A fantastic video. And something I should be working on right now, actually, I'm making this video. Okay, I can pay you a little bit later, okay? You know, part of being down or depressed or sad, in any aspect, whether you're traveling or not, is realizing that you are in that position. I think that's important. A lot of people, it takes a long time for them to realize they're depressed. I see it right away. How do I get through it, right? How do you ride the wave of depression and find your way out the other side? The length of a depression spatter depression. I have spatter depression. The length of the period that you're in the depression can vary, right? And I find that in order to reduce that time, and this might be different for different people, but you can force yourself to get out there and try and have fun, meet new people. if you meet the right person, you can be snapped out of a depression quite quick, like real fast. The odds of you meeting the right person, though, can be slim in certain circumstances. You need the right person. You don't want somebody overly bubbly because they're going to counter your depression and make you feel almost worse. You need somebody that's going to sit down and listen to what you're going to say, and that sort of true friendship is quite hard to find on the road. I meet amazing people all the time, but founding a relationship like that is hard, you know. Last night I really wanted to call somebody and hang out with somebody and maybe have a beer with somebody and just chill out and just talk, but there was nobody for that. So the other tack, the one that I like to do, is I like to ride it out. I like to lay in a bed, allow it to kind of wash over me, do its thing, and then go. Because I know it's coming. I know that there's not much I can do to resist it. I know that I'm not going to use the crutch of drugs or anything to kind of mask the feeling, and I just let it do its thing. I know I'm going to feel more down before I feel happy again, or satisfied, or accomplished, or whatever the feeling is. And I try not to let myself get too overcome with it. I just try to moderate it. So what I did last night is yesterday, I was at the temples when I felt it coming on, and I found a hotel that was nice, this place, and I asked for a taxi ride here, and so I got here. I got my bed, I got a quick meal, and I went to my bed and I slept. I wanted to go out with a video camera and show you Siem Reap, the streets of Siem Reap. I had actually set it up in the previous video, which I you know, at the end of the temple area, I was like, okay, now I'm going to show you what Siem Reap is like, and I set it all up, but sometimes I set things up that I can't quite finish, and that was one of the cases that I did that. I reserved myself to just focus on getting through it, and so I went upstairs and I laid in bed, and you know, as a traveler, I kind of have the luxury to do that. Some people, they have to go to work the next day, or they have to, you know, meet with people or do certain things, and being forced into doing some of those things can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes it can preoccupy your mind where you can focus on other things and maybe you can get out of the funk. Other times it just makes it even worse. So I went upstairs and I laid in bed, and I continued to use the crutch of watching YouTube videos. I just watched stupid stuff, monster videos, I don't know, whatever kind of tangent the YouTube algorithm led for me. It was like Godzilla movies, facts, and stupid crazy stuff. And I found that I wasn't sleeping, which is what I wanted to do. And then that led into even more of me getting down on myself and getting frustrated and angry and saying, Matt, you should be sleeping, but instead you're watching videos. And I do this to myself. I actually, you know, tend to make things worse before I make things better. And so that's what I did. I stewed, I laid in bed, and I made things worse for myself. You know, I had the desire somewhat to tweet or post something publicly that was like, I'm in a bad mood, or say I'm depressed or something, but I didn't. Hosting a pity party never helps anybody. But actually making this video might actually help some people, because sharing it in a constructive way might be nice. Whereas, you know, trying to encourage other people to pile onto my down mood or give me some words of encouragement by asking for it is not always the best thing either. It's a sort of a self-gratifying depression, you know what I mean? My sister, Tammy, she passed away a number of years ago. I have two sisters, and one day I'm gonna open that Pandora's box of stories, but I'll just share one. She always, she tended to leverage her depression. She was a very troubled individual, and when she got down, which was a lot, she tended to enjoy extracting empathy from people because she was down. and it simply fed into her depression, and it only made things worse. And I always, if I'm feeling down or frustrated or sad or whatever, I always kind of think like, what would my sister do in this circumstance? And I want to make sure not to do that. And so I didn't post that, you know, I was feeling depressed yesterday or anything, but I was. And I laid in my bed until the evening. I walked around. I'm at Pub Street right now, and I walked around all the lights and the people and the music. And you know, it's funny, when you're down, you when I'm normal, I can look at the positive side of life very easily. I mean, it literally is, it's like all the negativity just sort of disappears. And people think that I'm like overly maybe I'm like a character on these videos, but it truly is the way that I see life. I'm an upbeat, happy person, you know. And it's sort of because when people come to me or say something that might be construed as negative, I let it go so easily. And I don't lock onto it, I lock onto the positive and not the negative. But as soon as I walked out, a taxi driver came up to me and he's like, cigarette, marijuana, heroin. And that was just like, it just stuck with me. I'm like, what is this place I'm at, you know? And I am totally not that person. I'm always looking at the positive side. If I wasn't feeling down like I am right now, I would have just kind of giggled and laughed and been like, that's a single person in Siem Reap. But my mind at the time was like, is Siem Reap bad? You know, is this area like this? That's really unfortunate that this area is like this. And I was painting a picture with broad strokes based on a single interaction. On top of the interaction I had in my bed, where that lady was talking on her phone, I was just fixated on how rude and disrespectful that phone call was. And that's another result of being depressed, is that you latch on to these negatives, and they simply make things more than they should be or what they could be. And then you just kind of exacerbate the negative. And that's what I was doing. I was exacerbating the negative, and I kind of knew it. And so I walked around outside. It was just sort of, you know, I'm in a pub street, so there's a lot of like drinking and partying and heavy music and people, you know, young kids walking around with, you know, cigarettes hanging out of their mouth and just kind of like having a good old time and doing all manner of good old time. And so I came back to the hostel here and I just sort of tried to crash. You know, one of the things, when you do my technique and you sort of let the depression sort of run its course, you also have to identify what could exacerbate it. You don't want to exacerbate it, you just want to let it kind of like, the attitude, the feeling, the emotions kind of whittle their way around, because in a lot of cases sometimes you're just trying to figure something out. Maybe you don't even know what you're trying to figure out, and maybe that confusion is what's leading to the depression. Some of it might be my sort of disappointment with Angkor Wat. I'm somewhat feeling like temples are becoming less and less the thing that is what I'm interested in with regards to traveling. And looking at this amazing temple that was on my bucket list as the top item, and feeling sort of melancholy about it. Maybe that realization is what was prompting this depression, because I took a bus trip north in order to come here. I kind of grabbed a taxi driver right away in the morning. I think I probably did it wrong, actually. I probably should have stayed here an extra day and done a morning tour out of this hotel. I'm looking at a chart, and I probably should have done this differently and made that temple experience better. I'm not going to revisit the temples here, but I am trying to think of what I might have done to prompt this sort of bout of depression, and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the important thing, I think. To learn from the down times so that you don't have to repeat them multiple times. To recognize that you are a human being and you're allowed to feel down, and that's just normal. I'm basically making this video to acknowledge that it's okay to feel down. It's okay to have highs and lows on your trip. It's okay to have emotions, you know, and they don't always have to be positive. And don't beat yourself up. Allow the feelings to wash over you, and then hopefully you can get them to subside, as you know, with relative ease. Obviously, if you are depressed over a long period of time, like more than a couple of days, then maybe it requires some reevaluation. Maybe I can make a video about that, because I have had, you know, entire months where I've been depressed and had some serious down moments, and that requires different techniques. Today, I'm feeling much better, but I think it'll probably be a day or two before I actually am able to pry myself out. A lot of times for me, once I get on the road, that's as helpful as anything on the trike, and I'm actually moving forward on the tour. And then it sort of works itself out for me. So yeah, not in the best of moods. And that's okay, right? That's the moral of the story, is that it's okay. You accept the emotional situation you're in, and you do your best to work your way out of it, and that's what I'm doing right now. The bus is going to come to pick me up in a few minutes, and I'm going to ride back to Phnom Penh, where a friend of mine is storing my trike. Kind of a crazy thing. There's a prison that is very famous in Phnom Penh for the atrocities during the conflict here in Cambodia. Just a gruesome conflict. And I really wanted to see this place, but I'm wondering if it's not the healthiest thing in my state of mind, or maybe it's a great thing to go in this state of mind. I'm in a very open and reflective state of mind, and maybe that would be the perfect state of mind to go into a once school, then turned prison area, then turned museum, and kind of really take it in from a standpoint of, you know, feeling lucky that I can look at it from this standpoint and not be one of those people that, you know, had to go through all of that strife. So maybe I can leverage my current state of mind into a better mindset for actually going through a place like that. Either way, I think I'll probably check that out when I get to Phnom Penh, and then go see my friend in the evening and get ready to take off from Phnom Penh the next day. So yeah, travel depression. Everybody gets it, I think. Share your story below if you do get it. If you never get it, then share that as well and tell us some techniques or whatever, how you keep such a sunny disposition. Yeah, I'd like people to share their stories. But yes, I do get depressed. Yes, I do sometimes have self-doubt. Do I allow it to consume me and quit? Well, sometimes I allow it to consume me, but I do not quit. I readjust, I reevaluate, and I move on. I'm in the reevaluate portion, and it will pass soon. This is a long video. Probably not many people will watch the whole thing, but hopefully it's been valuable to some of you. And yes, we all get sad from time to time. Take it easy, guys. Jayoe, and grab a cup of coffee, and have an amazing day. Matt from Angkor Wat, Matt from Siem Reap, signing off. Bye.